All right, my loves, we're back. I'm Sierra Melcher. This is the Story Behind the Story podcast. I am here with my friend Emily. I'm just going to ask Emily to introduce herself because I believe that we are all slightly different every single time we show up. So, Emily, who are you today? How are you showing up? How do you want the audience to know you today?
Hi, I'm Emily Tamayo Maher. I have my second book coming out in August. It is called The Meaning Method, and it is about writing books from first inspiration to final publication. It's a really fun process that uses the chakra system, so it combines spirituality and publishing. And Sierra, I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We were just saying before I hit record that it feels like we know each other. I read one of your books, your first book last
Yes,
year.
that's my first book. That yes,
Yep.
it's the Meaning of Method, the Meaning Method first edition,
Okay.
and this is the second edition. So it's
And is
just
it like a
all that
totally
much
different
better.
animal? It's a totally different animal, or it's like,
Yeah, it
okay.
actually it is a totally different animal. Thanks for asking. Um, and this is kind of a fun thing. You know, any woman who's writing a nonfiction book and she's in business, this is one thing with the whole publishing process that I think should just take a ton of stress off. Because in business, it's all about iterating. Iteration after iteration, edition after edition. And so in publishing now, we are in this amazing place where you don't have to feel like you're standing on the edge of the cliff and this is it. No, I remember I launched my business 3 years ago, and I had written a book about the craft of writing. I've also published in literary magazines, short stories, things like that. So I was all up in the
You're like a
literary.
word wizard. How I
Yeah,
think of you.
exactly. I'm the word wizard who's now like getting into the chakra scene too, and um, and the thing here that's cool is that when I published the first edition of the Meaning Method, I knew what had helped me become a better writer at the University of Iowa, in literary magazines, in all of those contexts. But then as I got 3 years into business, I was working with so many different women with their daily struggles, the insecurities they're up against, the time stuff they're up against. You know, what is it for a woman such as ourselves, you know, working moms to get their book done? And so after working with so many women, at this point I think I've worked with 50 different clients to get books out, and I just knew so much more what they needed, so I just wrote the whole thing over. And that's cool, is that especially if you're writing nonfiction, but if you're writing fiction, as you get better, as you know your audience more, you may want to take that book off the market and just give them what they really, really need without confusing them. You can do that as a second book, or you can even work with what you already have and make it just a whole lot better. And so there are certain philosophies and certain, there was a lot of content that I was able to use from the old book. So I didn't want to create a whole new book. But now I have this chakra system that makes so much spiritual sense, and it's been a really good structure for people to work with.
Yeah,
So
there's so
I
many
did it,
parallels, right?
and yeah, exactly, and just did it again. So if you're on the cusp of your first book or wherever you are, it's
Or
never
the
the
second version of your first book. Yeah,
yeah,
I
exactly. You
love
can
that.
go as you go. You never have to be perfect.
And
And
that I think you've really hit on one of there's so many limitations that, like, logistic ones. So I'm doing a training right now, but there's like the practical barriers, the practical obstacles for writing of like single mom, pandemic, when, like, I like sleep if I can get it, when am I supposed to write and publish a book, right? Um, and so there's practical things, and I don't want to call them real or imaginary because there's practical obstacles, but we need to like overcome those in a certain way. And then there's the perceived obstacles, which is I've got to write it. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be right this time before I put it out there because I can never take it back and change it. And you just blew that perceived obstacle out of the water. I love that idea of iteration. Every time I get on a call with a woman, no matter what, she has like an arsenal of fears. They'll like what ifs and but if, and then what. And I just say, you know what? There is no limit to the fears. When we overcome this one, there'll be another one. So don't worry about that so much. The fears actually indicate what's important. Like, I want this. And so the more fear you have around it, the more you want it, not the more that it should stop you. And what you just shared in a nugget is a piece that I'm going to send out to everyone who's like, got that, it's got to be right. And it's got to be, I can't share it until it's ready, which is just this permanent, like, it falls into imposter syndrome and perfectionism, and it's never going to be perfect, right?
I love that. And you know what? Actually, me too. I'm totally sending this out because this is what I've been really talking about with people lately. And so, yeah, you know, we kind of got on this morning, but this is the raw thing that I think so many of the people I'm talking to who are on the cusp of publishing right now, you know, there's is it good enough? Is it good enough? And the fact is that if you make it the best you can make it, then yes, ship. I was just having a conversation with a client last week, you know, because she's on the cusp of publishing too, and it's such a wonderful, momentous place. But as far as what you can learn from publishing and following through with your swing and just doing it is so much more than spinning in your head about, okay, what is it missing? How can I make it better? Where's the comma I haven't found yet? What I've been doing to myself with my book description. But that's another story. But, you know, one of the things I said to this client is Nobel Prize winner, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. We both live in Colombia, right?
Yep.
You know, one of the classic texts of magical realism. You know, there are literary articles all over. People have written about this everywhere. There are 7 critical plot flaws in 100 Years of Solitude. And so that's kind of the thing is, yes, we all want to be growing as authors. We all want to do our best. I will tell you, this book that I'm coming out with now, is much better. It has more story. It has more adventure. It has more personal stories and vulnerability. It has more tactical, specific information. I'm going to say it. It's better than the first book, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't have published the first book. The first book was
couldn't have gotten here, and you wouldn't have known what it needed. You wouldn't know how to get it better. You wouldn't have gone through the whole birthing process and like raising this book up as a toddler and being like, oh, now I see how I can do it better. And this is fascinating because I work with women all the time, and we have somehow this trained instinct that if we think, or we feel that if we think about it long enough, we'll figure it out, and we shouldn't act until we figure it out. And simultaneously, women are saying, I learn by doing. I'm like, of course, we all do. But if you're too afraid to do, and the fear to put anything out there is more, you know, even the fear to sit down and do the writing. I'm working with people who are at the early process, right? They don't have the piece that they were ready to publish yet, but all those pieces go together and all those fears compound. But it's just, we learn by doing. And the more we can do, the more we can learn, and the better then we can get. But we don't get better just by thinking about it. I lived all of my 20s and most of my 30s trying to do it that way, and it doesn't work. But I want to pick your brain about your cover design process, because you recently had a blog come out about it, and I've designed a couple of covers and I'm supporting some clients with the same process. When we're in the writing process, when we're in the early publishing process, most people, especially self-publishing folks, don't think enough about the cover. And I love all of the insights you gained in your cover wrestling. You and I had a conversation about it a couple of weeks ago when you were in sort of design melee. And I just want to pick your brain about this, because I think the cover design process is a microcosm for any creation process. So it'll be relevant for whoever, whatever stage they are in their creation process.
Great. Yeah. And Melee, I was like, Mayday, Mayday, we're going down. We're going down. I cannot publish a book with this cover. Please. Yeah. Help me. Help me. So that's totally true. And it is with cover design. I hired multiple designers. I ultimately ended up going with a 99 designs contest. We can go into like the logistics of it, but
well, and we're gonna link your blog to this
oh, not the thing. Yeah,
people can
everything
like that for sure.
I went, yeah.
In there. Yeah. I've made a like how to design a good cover just before we spoke. I've like a free download. It's like 8 pages of all of the questions you need to be asking yourself, because when I did it, I was like, I'm going to design a cover. I'm going to hire 99 designs. And they asked me like 80 questions. I'm going, Jesus, I don't know what the book description is. I don't know how to even start this. So it's all in there. We'll share all those things in the links, but tell us your story. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, because it is, once you put a lot of work, this much work into something, people buy the book for the book. You know, I've done so much cover research at this point, and I will say there are best-selling books that with covers that are just total non sequiturs, that are not following the conventions, etc. And so there's no reason to put undue pressure on yourself to get the cover absolutely perfect. Perfectionism is not our game here. However, there are things that you can do to help it, because the publishing industry, there are so many books coming out all the time. And so you just want to do everything you possibly can in your favor to be able to have people recognize the book for what it is. The metaphor I use is that, you know, if you're going to a friend's birthday party and all you have left is Christmas wrapping paper, you know, you can give your friend a birthday present in Santa Claus wrapping paper, and you can just explain, oh, I know this isn't Santa Claus wrapping paper, but this is your birthday present. Happy birthday. And she'll forgive you. But if you're doing Amazon ads, if you're doing all these different things, really what your book is a gift to a specific person who recognizes a specific type of book. And so you don't, my whole thing was, when I was putting together my book cover, I didn't want to have to go to everybody's house and be like, I know this isn't Santa Claus wrapping paper, but this is your birthday present. This is your birthday present. You know, I wanted them to recognize it for what it was. And, you know, a good friend who actually, and I might share this story, Miranda Rex also, you know, cued me off about some of this stuff, like, Emily, don't go with this design or that design, because you need, in ads, you need your cover to resonate with the exact audience. And, you know, we've been working together for about 4 or 5 years. So I want to share her story about her latest book that's just come out too. She's just put out her 9th thriller. And so, and she's been hitting the best-selling charts like crazy. And so that kind of goes to, it's a little bit of a tangent, but it goes to this whole idea of just put it out. I remember when we started working together in 2017, and I was just coaching her on her first books. She just put it out there. She got a great startup publisher to really start selling her books like crazy. And so never be intimidated by the stuff we share with you. She happened to be the person who's like, Emily, I saw your cover. It does not look like what's inside the book. Change it. And that was scary for me, because I'd already made the investment on that cover, and it began the odyssey of covers. And I suppose, you know, do you have any specific questions, or I'll just dive into kind of basically what I talked about in the blog about how I finally made the connection.
I loved the blog. So just sort of take us through that arc, especially, and because you and I had a conversation a couple of weeks earlier, sort of that was like can we call it a low moment?
Yes, exactly. And it's emotional. It's so emotional. And so as designers also understand, and, you know, I hired several different designers to kind of see what they would give me. And there were times, especially with very professional designers who were who are making good money on this, I had to remind them, listen, sweetheart, I spent 2 years writing this book. I have people, you know, depending on me for my income. My team depends on me to spread the word and make this sell. So don't give me your, you know, average what popped into your head. Put some concentration.
20 minutes on Canva. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, listen,
you. I'm
honey,
not going to do it myself. Yeah.
You have actual people, myself, my team. We've put a lot of work into this. So yeah, don't skimp on this. Don't put it together at the last minute. And so can
I jump in for a second? Because even your willingness to hold someone else accountable is huge, right?
It's emotional, yeah. And also knowing how to do it, yeah.
Yeah, when we're new at something, it's like, well, I don't know, is this how it works? So we just sort of like rely on others and the experts to like, oh, well, this is all I can get. I guess this is what I'll take. Women especially have really been trained to operate like that. And for you to say to someone, no, that's you being difficult, right? But it's like, you're also a customer and that shows that you're invested in your creation and you're going to hold everybody to the same standards that you're holding yourself. And so I just want to celebrate that act of like, no, this is important. Like, get on board, baby.
Oh, thank you. Exactly. And it is and as women, yes, standing up for ourselves. And here's the other thing, that we can do it in a nice way. So for instance, you could write an email that says, listen, this is crap, you know, and not be specific. You could be mean about it, or you could say, listen, I need you to put more attention into this. I've been working on this for 2 years. And really, as women, one of the cover designers was a woman. And so I really appealed to her as a woman. And I did it in kind of a nurturing way. Listen, I believe in you. I believe in your art. I need a different concept. I need something like that. And so really holding the other person, I hired you because I admired the covers you've done in the past. Show me something to that same standard and hold them to the standard of the art that they do. Then I had another guy, this is just total gossip. He's like, I don't care about the chakra. Like, I don't know about the chakras and I really don't care. And I'm like, all right, man, well, here's the return policy. You know, it's like, do you want to work on this or not? You know, this is not going to be easy. Like, and in that way, I just like, you know what, I can get a cancellation and we can let each other both off the hook. If this is going to be a bunch of miserable back and forth, but yes, know that if you put 2 years into something and you pay an artist their fee, they can put hours into something. And with fees, it's also the artists ask for the fee of what the artist asks for the fee. There are some people who $1 million isn't any money. And then there's some people who $50 is a lot of money. So it's not about the amount of money. It's
always an energetic exchange though, right?
Exactly. It's like, this is my book. You decided you were going to do book covers. So just know that this is a book cover and the person behind the book cover put in a lot of time. Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got into my own writing process and the publishing process that I realized how many damn people it takes to make a single book. Right? You look at read the back of any book and there's like 60 people listed. You're like, who the hell are all these people? I thought there's just like one name on the cover. Who's all these other people? But it's a collaborative effort. I'm sort of artistic, but I'm not the person who's going to design my book cover. I really struggled taking what I felt in my heart and what I sort of saw in my imagination and then communicating that to another person who hadn't spent the time writing the book, right? My first book, I wrote in 3 months.
Beautiful covers. Yes.
Thank you. But I wrote my book in 3 months and I don't feel any less attached to it because I didn't write it over 2 years. It's still my baby, right? Like
exactly.
It's very much like, who's going to help me raise this child?
And you want to like really into the world so people can receive it. Sorry to interrupt.
No. And it's just because we're having so much fun. It's a collaboration and like finding the right person to collaborate with, both, you know, just visually for a cover, but also like, can we have difficult conversations? right?
Mm-hmm.
My editors have been so helpful, but they gut me.
Yes, which
I
is
have
a
to be,
part of that process.
and I need it, right? Because if I didn't need the editor, then I would just publish the random blah that's the best I can do, but the best we can do is always better than the best I can do. But if I had an editor that couldn't communicate with me in a way that I could receive it, it wouldn't work. And so also just really, as you're finding your people, as you're doing all of the book creation, knowing that it's a, who are the people that I can do this hard work with? Because I always say that like writing and publishing is accelerated professional growth, personal growth, spiritual growth. You are put through the ringer in like the fastest, for me, it was just like zoom. And I didn't know it when I got into it. But then I'm like, huh, I'm an author, huh, I'm published, huh, I'm on the other side of this. And it happened because I was willing to do all the uncomfortable stuff. And to do the uncomfortable stuff, you need the people who can push you without breaking you, right?
And also exactly because you're you, and at this stage where you're going through the editing and you're going through the cover choice and all of that, you're the CEO, but nobody can override you. And so if you have, I mean, with editing, it's even more sensitive because it depends on the level of edit you're looking for. So there's developmental edit where they're getting all into the structure, copy edit where they're really refining your voice, and then proofread where they're getting every comma in the right place. And so that's another thing with the editing is that you can't have a person who doesn't understand what you're trying to do. So I'll never forget, I went in for free editing service is when I was in college, and I had a short story and there were college kids drinking in the short story. You know, it was one of those. And I remember the editor is like, you need to take this out. You need to take the immoral behavior out of the story. And I'm just like, well, you know, she didn't want, she was, her editing was
her voice,
conflicting.
right?
Yes,
Her
exactly. She
soul.
wanted the story to say something different than it says. And so that's just another process of that's similar to kind of this, the book cover story we were talking about is with editing also, you're the CEO. You have to find the person who will honor your voice. And then also, this happened to me this time. I will come, I will be upfront. I hired people who even though I believed in them, I was really excited about them. I knew that they weren't going to be able to execute what I finally needed to executing. And so I did have to change course. And that was kind of scary. That's where you found me, where it's like, not only is this just not going to stand out to the conventions and the standards of the category I want to sell in, I don't know where to go. Did I write this whole book and now I can't find a cover for it? But lo and behold, everything did finally come together. But yes,
and it always will, right? There's always
yes,
sort of the dark night of the
exactly.
soul where you're like, I don't know how this is going to work. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to work. I'm in it, and that's where it's nice to have people like I can call you and you can call me, and women can call either of us. That's what we do. Is to like
the communities,
right? It's like, yes, I've been there. Yes, you're gonna like. There is another side. I don't know where it is, but we're gonna get like. Let's just keep going, and we'll get you there. I know, since we're sort of on the topic of covers, I know when I hired, actually both designers that I hired, I went with different companies both times. How do I phrase this? I set my designers up to fail by not knowing what I wanted and not communicating even to my best ability, right? Even if we do a great job, communicate everything accurately, and then somebody else is going to read your words and then interpret them, they're going to have a totally different vision than you have. But I didn't even do that, right? I didn't give them everything. And so a designer is never going to read your book, okay? But they're going to design the cover for it without ever having read the book. At most, maybe they get a paragraph or two. And they get the genre and they get, you know, who are the audience, and maybe you send them 3 or 4 other like covers. I like this cover, but don't do that. these are like the other covers that are like what you were sharing in your blog, selling well in the categories that I want to be associated with. I think sort of seeing what other people are wearing before you get dressed for the party makes a lot of sense. But I definitely didn't even support my designer the first time at all. I was like, I just think I sent them like, here's the title, and no book description. I had nothing. It was embarrassing. And the second time I got a little bit better. Again, going back to like, by doing it, we get a little bit better and better and better. And like every single time I'm going to design a cover, it's going to be a little bit better, closer to the right fit. And that whole process of just the doing. I like to keep these conversations brief. So what do you want to give us before we sign off? A nugget, a rally cry?
The final nugget is that, yeah, just to kind of, we got into some like standing up for yourself, you know, and getting what you deserve. Your cover finally, as far as the cover conversation, the thing I wasn't getting is that, oh my God, this is my cover. Like, you know, if you go on a really great first date and you're just like, oh, I can't wait to talk to him again. You know, that's how you should feel about your cover. You should feel like, oh, I can't wait to put this out into the world. And don't stop until you have both something that works in, you know, that works, that represents your words in a way that it should, but also it should give you butterflies. You should feel like you've fallen in love to a certain degree. You should get excited about the art that you see. And that's the other thing. And then just
don't settle.
Yeah, don't settle for, okay, I think I can make this work. Don't grit your teeth into because you're going to be talking about it everywhere. Yeah. And this is cover. Exactly, for, you know, at least a couple years. So yes, I think go for the butterflies. It's a combination of communication, knowing what should work, but then go for butterflies. Go for butterflies. Yeah. Love your cover. Love your cover.
That is such, yep, I love it. That's where we're going to leave it. Thank you all for tuning in. Every week we have a conversation with someone, a woman in the writing, creation, publishing, and just sharing stories to support you all in your writing, publishing, and aspirational creation process. Sending love from Red Thread Publishing. I'm Sierra. Thank you, Emily, for your time. And as always, I love an excuse to talk to you.
Mwah! Thank you.